For this restorative session, we're going to start in Viparita Karani, and I'm just using a bolster, and I like to have a bit of extra height, so I've got a half folded blanket, and then I've just got a flat blanket for the back. Because, you know, some of us that regularly go to Iyengar yoga classes, we're used to having the ropes on the wall, so it can be a little tricky going in. I find if you just have the bolster slightly away from the wall, and then sitting close, almost with your hip up on the wall, and then hold the sides of the bolster to go in. And then just to get that little bit closer, bending the elbows into the bolster and just sliding a little bit closer. Now ideally if you can get the legs flat back against the wall. The back skull gently away from the neck, and the arms just gently resting beside you, elbows slightly bent. I've got my legs hip width apart. Viparita Karani is also known as the Great Reliever, especially for women. If you've been on your feet all day, it's a perfect way to rest tired legs. And it's probably one of the most accessible inversions. You know, it still falls into the inversion category. The meaning behind Viparita Karani, Viparita is the Karani is where we form a pool of blood in the abdomen. So Karani is lake. So you get this pool of blood as the blood draws from the legs into the belly, which is really good for bringing increased circulation into the abdominal organs and the pelvic organs. Because it is an inversion and the legs are up above the pelvis, it's not advisable to practice when you're menstruating. Gently tuck the tips of the shoulders under, and you can feel just by having that height behind the back of the buttock helps you feel the lift from the back chest. The shoulder blades gently drawing into the back to help create more space inside the chest. You may feel the chest, the rib region expanding and opening. And where here you can rest your entire body. Relax the arms, relax the fingers. Just allowing the legs, the femur bones especially, to release down to the hips, feeling the back of the buttock descend into the bolster. The feet are soft. We come into Jalandhara Bandha as the tips of the shoulders release and the back skull extends out of the neck. The head is gently tilted inward, the chin gently drawing towards the throat. And your throat should feel soft here. Anybody who feels hard in the throat, you can always put a half folded blanket under just the shoulders and have the head off, which can support a little more the chest to soften the throat and soften the neck. So once you're fully settled, where you descend your eyes into your sockets, your teeth are slightly apart and your lips very gently touching. Be mindful of the tongue resting on the bottom palate. And then where you can start to simply observe your breath, gently watching as you inhale, gently watching as you exhale. Completely allowing your breath to flow without any need to control. As you inhale, observing that lift from the diaphragm band which runs across the bottom ribs. As you inhale, mindfully observe your rib cage expanding and lifting as you inhale. Watching as you exhale, the rib cage gently drawing into the center and down to the belly. When you inhale, observing the spreading and lifting of the ribs. And when you exhale, watching the ribs draw inward and downward. Being mindful of that pooling of blood into the belly region. When you breathe, you feel the rise and fall also of the belly, keeping the abdomen soft. So navel gently spreading to the sides of the waist. And then where your abdomen gently rests to the back spine. So your lower back is spread and relaxed. Once again, watching as you inhale, your rib cage lifts and spreads as you complete the length of your inhalation. And then as you exhale, your rib cage descends down to the belly. Over time, as you stay in Viparita Karani, you notice the breath increasing in depth. It slows down. So that when you inhale, you really feel like you're breathing from the navel, from that abdominal region. And so the air is filling all the way down there, all the way up to the tips of the lungs. And then when you exhale, be mindful to release all the air out on the exhalation. And to release out, can you just gently bend your knees, just cross your legs on the wall. You know, I've mentioned this in my past videos. If anyone wants to stay longer, you just simply pause, stay as long as you want. And then to come out, gently slide back and roll off to the right side to come out. I'm going to show you a different variation. Now, with the chair, particularly if your hamstrings are tight or you have to watch, be a little more mindful of your lower back, doing Viparita Karani legs bent on the chair is a really good substitute. So I'll just get my chair. Now, I'm going to keep the bolster. So you keep the same height under the sacrum. I'm going to pop the blanket on top just so it's nice and comfy on the chair. There are different ways of working in legs bent on the chair. You could have sometimes we work with a block and a belt. Anyone who is working with lower back issues or issues that they have to just observe in their hips and their pelvis, a block and a belt can be really handy. I'm just going to show you that. Over the years, I've worked with lots of lower back pain myself, and I particularly have to watch my right hip. And when I feel there's a flare-up, which can really flow into my sacrum area, I find this particularly relieving. You know, when I've got that pain and I am allowed the space away from my kids, I like to just rest here. So sometimes in yoga, I think we forget that we have permission to just do this. This is our practice. It doesn't always have to be strong, and we don't have to always be doing lots of different poses in our practice. This could be your practice. This is how I like to practice on a Sunday. Now I've got the block right up into the the basin of the pubis, the inner thighs are spreading out. The belt is midway. Now I'm just showing you this. You know, for today, you might not want the block. You could just have the belt. Now I want you to watch. When I go to put my legs down, I'm deliberately turning my heels out. So the inner calves also turn out. The back inner thighs spreading. And you can see I'm not on a sharp angle with my knees over my hips. My legs are slightly angled back to help soften the groins. You can lengthen the bottom back ribs away from the bolster, relaxing the arms beside you. In both of these positions, you could quite easily work with an eye pillow or something over the eyes and also cover yourself. If you have an extra bolster, you could place it on your shins or a sandbag even on the shin bones. One of the benefits of having the pelvis raised in this way is that it helps you get a little more length in the lower back. So if you still feel a little bit stuck there, use your hands, adjust your upper buttock flesh away. Once again, adjust those bottom back ribs to the head side. So you feel the length come into the lower back. We're not trying to flatten the lower back, but we certainly don't want to feel the skin compressed and stuck. And with, you know, with experience in yoga practice, we become very in tune with our body, and particularly when you lie down, you can become very aware where your skin gets stuck. Ideally, the inner shoulder blades spreading. So you've got that breadth across the back chest, the breadth across the back of the shoulders. Once again, tucking the tip of the shoulders under and turning the inner upper arm flesh out. The elbows, you want them below the line of the shoulders. When the arms are higher than the shoulders, the heart has to pump blood a little harder to reach the extremities of the fingers. So particularly in these more restorative positions, we actually want to slow down our heart rate, slow down our breath, quieten our nervous system. So everything we can do to facilitate that. So elbows are slightly bent, arms, fingers relaxed. Once again, quieten the face, quieten the skin of the throat. If you had tightness in your neck, you could quite easily have a folded blanket under the head. Just remembering the rule with head support, skin of the forehead region is parallel to the ceiling. Once again, can you surrender to the inflow and the outflow of your breath? Watching the expansion and the spreading of your rib cage as you inhale. Watching the rib cage descend to the belly as you exhale. In both Viparita Karani with the legs straight and this variation with the knees bent, as much as you notice the filling of the breath to the rib cage at the front, also where you observe the filling to the back ribs, so where you feel the back of the lungs. You can even, for a few cycles, as you inhale now, I want you to observe that you're filling the ribs at the back. You might even notice the back ribs pressing down a little more into the blanket. And fully exhale. Keep observing the inflow and outflow of your breath. Over time, just fully allow your legs to be supported by the block and the belt. Relax your feet. Don't feel you have to hold your legs in any position, which is why we have the support there. So you can surrender the legs, surrender the hold of the legs. During times when my back's playing up or my sacrum, I like to stay here minimum 20 minutes. You could quite easily stay longer if you had the time. And if you feel at this particular moment you do want to stay longer, by all means pause this recording. Stay as long as you need. Then I'm going to prepare to come up. These positions really help you surrender, just like you would in Savasana. So before coming out, just being mindful of the weight of your body. Bend up your knees, going to take the block and the belt away. And lying back, I always like to free my legs up, Baddha Konasana, especially after being bound up in that way. It's nice to just open out the legs from the pelvis. Once again, observe the upper buttock descending and the inner buttock spreading. We want the buttock flat for Baddha Konasana. You can stretch out your shoulders, interlock your fingers, gently press your palms away as you stretch your arms above the head. Descend the backs of the arms into the mat. Spread across the back shoulders. To change the interlock, Urdhva Hastasana, gently change the interlock of the fingers. Press out the palms. Feel the length coming all the way from the bottom side ribs all the way out through the hands. Gently press in through the feet and open the inner knees out. And then relax the arms and gently straighten your legs. I'm just going to lie here a few moments for Savasana. I'm quite happy just having my legs inside the chair. You're welcome to come up and remove the chair completely if that's bothering you. Sometimes I like to work with my legs in the chair this way. It's interesting in Savasana where we notice one leg, and it differs for all of us, rotates out. My right leg always falls out more than my left leg. When I have something containing the outer leg, like the legs of the chair, then I'm a little more level with that rotation of the legs, that falling out from the hips. Sometimes we work even with a belt around the ankles, just to feel a little more containment when one leg turns out more than the other. Just be guided by your inhalation and by your exhalation. And now as we've come off that bolster, fully allow the release into the back waist. You might want to keep adjusting the upper buttock flesh and the bottom back ribs out of the lumbar so you can fully release your belly into the back spine. You can keep watching the inflow and outflow of breath. You might want to stay longer, so feel free to pause. But in preparation for coming out, feel the weight of the back of the body. And then gently bend the knees up. Roll off to the right side, stay a little bit longer, support your head just with the arm so you're not dipping the head down. And then you can slowly come up. I always like to finish whatever sort of practice I'm doing, whether it's restorative or a more active practice, just to consolidate what's happened. I like to sit up in Swastikasana, let the shoulders descend, and gently bring your hands into Namaskarasana. Peel the outer corners of the shoulders back, lift your sternum up, and surrender your head to your heart. Your shoulder blades well into the back. See if you can retain some of this quietness as you gently release your hands and slowly lift your head.